We'll get to that traffic update in just a little bit. Not quite time just yet, every 20 minutes. So Steph Rollinson will be here with that in about 10 minutes. It's 3:15 on WEEU. Joe Painter with you. And I mentioned these Misa's Fugue and our guests a couple times in the last week because I've been intrigued. So let me first introduce you to our guest. Sean Gaston is with us. And Sean, you are... I read your bio, and you've spent 15 years in the film industry, and then you went to teaching. Did I get that right?
That is correct, yes.
Why?
I pretty much maxed out at the company where I was. I worked for 15 years in the exhibition side of the movie business, and then spent the last 6 or 7 of those years moonlighting on the independent production side of the business. And I kind of maxed out where I was, and I came back home and found out that, they teach filmmaking classes and TV production classes in the local high schools.
In high school these days, huh?
Exactly. And I thought to myself, hey, I could go back to school and, get my degree and teach that in 5 years.
So you did go back to school then? I
went back to school for 2 years. I did my post-bac at Kutztown, and then ended up getting my master's just recently through Cabrini. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And went back into the classroom. Fleetwood area high school actually yanked me out of Kutztown a year early and emergency certified me to come in and teach the communications courses at the high school.
Communications courses, specifically film, or just communications in general?
I teach 3 sections of TV media classes, TV Media 1, 2, and 3. I teach an introduction to communications and media literacy class, and then I also teach or co-teach a history of the Holocaust through film and lit class with Jennifer Goss, who was a producer on Misa's Fugue.
It's nice to hear these kinds of classes in our high schools. The classes you're describing back in the day, in our day, I would presume, they were college courses.
Yeah, they absolutely were. I mean, I graduated in '95 from Central Catholic, and there wasn't a TV. There wasn't a TV studio in the school, and just it's closed now. So they didn't have
hardly a TV studio.
Yeah, there was. I mean, it was the old Luden's mansion, so there wasn't room for too much in the building.
There's an old bowling alley and swimming pool downstairs. All the way down.
I've been there.
Anyway, we digress. So you're back at Fleetwood High School, and there's where your guests are students at Fleetwood, seniors, and you don't have senioritis at all, do you?
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. Colton, you were too quick with that answer. Colton Greiss is with us, and you take all of his courses, some of his courses, Mr. Gaston's courses?
I took all of his courses except the Holocaust through Film and Lit because it's
Really?
never been available in my schedule.
Okay. And Margariete Malenda is with us as well, senioritis. She's blushing. Just in case you didn't catch that, she's blushing on the radio. Yeah, see, I would be anxious. I mean, you shouldn't be ashamed to say, yes, can't wait. How many days?
28, is that what we said?
Yep, 28.
Congratulations to both of you. That graduation
Thank
is
you.
an exciting time. You're an art student, Margariete?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you taken, you can call me Joe. All of a sudden I felt like I was in the Army. Have you taken any of Mr. Gaston's courses?
I am unfortunately not. I wasn't able to fit it in my schedule. I'm taking more art classes, but I was able to take one of Mrs. Goss's Holocaust classes, so I have an idea of the Holocaust and art, but we take a year-long course called Senior Art, and in that we do just multiple senior art projects. You self-portrait, paintings, watercolors. You can do crafts if you want.
Are these electives?
This is a year-long elective.
Okay.
So it's
Are
not
you-
mandatory.
Are your classes primarily electives, Sean?
All of my classes are electives. Yes,
They're
that's
electives.
correct. Yep.
It's going to make it a little bit nicer because then the students, they want to be there.
You hope that they want to be there. Yes.
Sometimes
I mean,
you
it's
just have to take an elective. And that's
yes,
the one that fits
exactly.
the
Sometimes,
schedule.
like Colton said, I mean, a lot of times certain things fit into the schedule, and then you have to choose. Well, do I want to do this or do that? And the best ones are the kids that come there not knowing that they want to be there, and then they get
End up
caught
wanting.
with the bug and end up choosing careers
That's
based
nice.
upon the stuff that they learn. Yeah, it makes it all worth it. Absolutely.
I have to back up. Marguerite, you said something. Actually, you said 2 words in the same sentence that are strikingly opposite, but yet I think very, very indicative of the project you guys have undertaken. You said Holocaust and art in the same sentence, and they're not. Art isn't usually a word we liken with the Holocaust. It's more like horror.
By no means.
Right. Horrific and terrifying. So how does art work into this? And that's where Misa's Fugue comes along. So I guess without beating around the bush, Misa's Fugue is documentary.
Yes.
Fair to say?
Yep.
And the gentleman's name is Frank Misa Grunwald.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Frank Misha Grunwald.
Misha.
Yep.
Misha Grunwald. And he is still alive.
Yes.
I watched the documentary, and I must say thank you very much. It's still haunting. How did you meet Frank?
I met Frank in the summer of 2010. I was attending the Arthur and Rochelle Belfer conference. It was actually a Next Step conference that was run by the Holocaust Museum down in D.C. And I met him in Indianapolis. I was flown out to Indianapolis. I was part of a select group of teachers that got to go to the Next Step conference. And to me, Frank was just, a name on a piece of paper that was going to give a keynote address to us. And at that point, I'd heard, probably 24 survivors speak. And
you have?
I had, yes, at that point. And when Frank walked in the room and Frank started to tell his story, I mean, I was just blown away is an understatement by what he had gone through. There were things in his story that proved there's this thing that we say about the Holocaust. It's one of those subjects that the more you study, the more you realize how much you don't know. The more
watching the documentary, I mean, I thought I knew about the Holocaust, and I learned.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. I learned so much more watching that movie.
So that's how I met Frank, and I mean, when Frank was speaking, Frank, has hundreds of pictures of, his family members, and, you've seen them, they're in the film, and he has hundreds of these pictures, and this incredible story, and, the letter, that he has from his mother, and it was one of those things that when he was finished talking, I asked him 2 questions. My first question was, how did you get all your photos? And he told
That's a question I have.
And he told us the story about Anda, his housekeeper. His father was a doctor, so his family was a little bit privileged, a little more privileged, than the average family. And he had a housekeeper, and when they were deported, they left all of their, earthly possessions to her. And when he and his father survived the war and made it back to Prague after liberation, they met up with Anda again, and she still had all of their stuff. So when they escaped communist Czechoslovakia, they brought a lot of that stuff with them. So that was my first question to him. And my second question to him, and this is where the filmmaker inside me kind of took over while I was listening to him speak: has anybody ever documented your story? And I got to eat dinner with him that evening, and he told me that no one had done it. And that's when the idea kicked in that there is definitely a feature film here. There is definitely, a narrative here that can easily be told. And where the challenge came in was when I decided that, we were going to involve as many departments and faculty members and students within the high school as possible.